Our guardian star lost all his glow the day that I lost you. He lost all his glitter the day you said no, and his silver turned to blue. Like him I am.
Chapter 2, Valentine's Day, 1968. It was Valentine's Day, 1968, when my girlfriend Jessica decided to break up with me. I had been looking forward to our date for weeks, pouring my heart into plans that I hoped would solidify our bond. I envisioned a night filled with love and laughter, a fancy restaurant adorned with candlelight, followed by a romantic movie that would leave us wrapped in each other's arms. But as I pulled up to Jessica's house in my dad's car, an uneasy feeling gnawed at my stomach. She was slow to come out, and I couldn't shake the sense that something was amiss. When she finally appeared, her expression bore no trace of excitement or joy, only a heaviness that cast a shadow over the evening I had envisioned. As Jessica slid into the passenger seat, the silence was palpable. I could sense the weight of her unspoken words pressing down on both of us. She fidgeted nervously, her hands twisting in her lap, and avoided making eye contact with me. Each attempt I made at small talk fell flat, met with her distant demeanor that felt like an insurmountable wall between us. Once at the restaurant, the booth I had reserved, meant to create a cozy haven for us, felt like a cage. My heart raced, but not from excitement. Rather, it was a frantic attempt to stave off the inevitable. And then, in a moment that felt suspended in time, Jessica turned to me with a solemn expression and said, "I think we need to talk, Danny." In that instant, I realized my worst fears were coming to fruition. She spoke the words that would shatter my world. She didn't feel the same way about me anymore, that we should part ways. I wanted to scream, to plead, to remind her of our laughter, the dreams we had woven together, but all that escaped me was a numb silence. It was devastating news. I had believed we had built something substantial, only to discover that for her it had wilted away. In that moment, love felt like a cruel joke, leaving me alone with nothing but echoes of what once was, a heartbreak that would linger long after the day had faded. Distraught over Jessica's decision, I tried to convince her to give our relationship another chance, but Jessica was firm in her decision to leave. We finished our meal in an awkward silence, each bite tasting more like sorrow than food. I drove Jessica home, the car filled with a heavy stillness that seemed to press on my chest, making it hard to breathe. When Jessica got out of the car, she thanked me for dinner and said she hoped we could still be friends. I nodded, unable to speak, my throat tightened by a growing lump of grief. I watched her walk away, her figure getting smaller, taking pieces of my heart with her. After arriving home, I made my way to my bedroom and collapsed onto the edge of my bed. It felt like all the air had been sucked out of my room. My relationship with Jessica was over, just like that. All the memories and plans Jessica and I had made together were gone, evaporated like a puff of smoke. The evening felt surreal, as if I were a character in some cruel, tragic play. I tried to make sense of everything, but the pieces didn't fit anymore. I thought our relationship was going well, but clearly I had missed the signs, the silent pleas for space, or perhaps for something different that I couldn't provide. Anger mingled with confusion, and a deep, crippling despair set in. I wanted to call her, to demand an explanation, to hear her say there was some mistake, but deep down I knew it wouldn't change anything. Jessica had made up her mind, and no plea or promise could alter her resolve. Now, surrounded by the quiet of my room, the sounds of our past laughter haunting me like ghosts, I felt an overwhelming sense of loss. The future we had envisioned together, once bright and brimming with possibilities, had darkened and dissolved into the night around me. How swiftly love had slipped through my fingers, leaving me yearning for a return to a past that was forever out of reach. The pain was sharp, a constant ache, a reminder of what had been and what could no longer be. I spent the rest of the evening in a daze, trying to understand what had just happened. Valentine's Day was supposed to be a day of love and romance, but instead it had turned into heartbreak. Jessica had been my world, and hearing her say we were better off apart felt like a cruel twist of fate. It would take a long time to heal from Jessica's rejection, but I didn't know how long. My heart felt heavy, a permanent lump lodged in my throat as I replayed our last conversation over and over in my mind, searching for signs I might have missed. As the days passed, I tried to move on, but it wasn't easy. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of her. The movie theater where we had our first date, the park bench where we shared our dreams and laughed until our sides hurt. It felt like a part of me was missing, and I didn't know how to fill the void. Even the simplest tasks felt monumental without her by my side. The world had lost its color. Everything turned a bleak shade of gray that mirrored the turmoil inside me. Mom tried to cheer me up, suggesting we play cards or watch a movie together, but I just wasn't in the mood. Her words, meant to soothe, felt distant and hollow. I couldn't see past the pain of a broken heart, couldn't imagine a future where the ache didn't consume me. Each morning, I woke up to the stark reality that Jessica was no longer part of my life, and each night I fell asleep to the haunting echoes of our memories. The joy we once shared was gone, replaced by an emptiness that seemed to expand with each passing day. Reluctantly, I got dressed after my determined mom insisted we go out. It had only been a week since I'd told her about my breakup, and her motherly instincts kicked into overdrive. We drove to Grandma's house, which felt like torture for 30 minutes. The weight of my heartache made every mile drag, but Mom was silent, her hands steady on the wheel, her eyes fixed on the road. As we reached the halfway mark, my mom unexpectedly opened up about her childhood. She shared that her father had a drinking problem, which she referred to as the brown bottle disease. I had always known Grandpa had his demons, but the stark label she used painted a grimmer picture than I'd imagined. This addiction, she revealed, led to him disappearing for months at a time, forcing Mom and her siblings to be sent to live with various relatives. Grandma, she explained, simply didn't have the money to care for 9 children alone. Mom said that it was a difficult time for her and her family, and it had a big impact on her childhood. The stories of her as a little girl, moving from house to house, trying to find a stable place to call home, were heart-wrenching. It put my own troubles into perspective. Mom talked about how these experiences shaped her determination to provide a stable and loving home for my brothers and me. She never wanted us to experience the kind of instability she had known. Listening to her, I felt a mixture of sadness for what she had endured and gratitude for the sacrifices she'd made for us. Her resilience was inspiring. By the time we pulled into Grandma's driveway, I felt a bond with my mom that went deeper than our usual everyday interactions. My breakup, while painful, was a momentary stumble in life's journey, a journey my mom had navigated with much heavier burdens. In sharing her story, she wasn't just trying to distract me from my heartache. She was teaching me about resilience, about moving forward despite the past, and about the healing power of sharing one's story. As we neared the familiar surroundings of our home, the silence in the car gave way to a moment that would be etched in my memory forever. Having seen the tumultuous waves of heartache reflected in my eyes, Mom chose that moment just before we reached the driveway to impart words that would gently coax hope from despair. Turning towards me with that all-knowing smile, she said, "Danny, there's more than one fish in the sea. You haven't found the right girl yet, but someday you will, and she will be a wonderful person who loves you for who you are." Little did we know, the universe already had its plans weaving through the fabric of our lives. In those simple words lay a profound truth about life and love, a reassurance that beyond the immediacy of painful goodbyes, there lies a vast ocean of possibilities. Mom's wisdom didn't erase the pain instantly, but it planted the seed of resilience, a reminder that this too shall pass and something better awaited. It was an invitation to believe in the morrow, to keep my heart open to the unknown adventures that life had in store. Neither of us knew then that this wonderful person Mom spoke of was actually not too far away. Just 3 blocks from our home, a family had recently moved in, among them a 15-year-old girl with a gentle demeanor and a smile that could light up the dullest days. However, life has its own timing, and it would be 3 years before our paths would cross. 3 years during which I would grow, learn, and prepare myself unknowingly for the day when love would once again knock on my door, this time to stay.